This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I'm the fellow who has a hyphen in my name. The hyphen is silent, but I am anything but that. Sarah, once again, it's Labor Day. It's come around in 2025. The world doesn't always have a Labor Day. We do, because we believe in the whole product and the whole issue of labor. And what we have this morning is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley, the voice of Respectonomics, and Sarah Benton, my co-host.
Good morning.
Good morning. And I always get into a muddle about what time of day it is and what time of the year it is. But there's one thing to be said, and that is that maybe in a year's time we'll listen back to some of these messages and these conversations, and being able to put a timestamp on them is actually useful. So
I like it.
Universally.
I was going to say, you can also see where things have developed.
Exactly.
Or how things have shifted or things have changed, right?
Yeah. Well, we have a new website, another one, and this one is called Audionomics. And Audionomics is the economics of listening. And I want to talk about listening. Most of us, and I'll start with me, have a great deal of difficulty listening. And there's a number of very psychological, powerful reasons for that. One of the reasons is your mind is always whirring around. So when you hear something, you pick up on one idea and run with it. And by the time you've run with it, you haven't heard a word of what the other person has said. And I know we've heard this 100 times, but you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Therefore, the ear is bigger than the mouth. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's all agree it's difficult to listen. And I've got 3 things I want to say about listening. And the reason it's called Audionomics is not a frivolous answer. It deals with the fact that there are enormously beneficial economic results, outcomes, if in fact we listen.
Right.
We will hear more, we will learn more, we will be more. So listening, we know it works. And we know, if you ever talk to a child, the frustration is when the child doesn't listen. And you know that they're going to end up in trouble by not listening.
Right.
That's true throughout all ages. So what I want to talk about, though, is 3 things about listening. As long as we all agree that we've got a defining benefit to listening. Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Then 3 steps. First of all, when we are listening to somebody, we should always be looking at them. There should be eye contact. So when people talk about working remotely, one of the problems with that is you don't actually hear things properly because you're not looking at the person when they're speaking. As a matter of fact, they may not even be speaking, they may be writing. And part of the human paradigm is we gain information by listening. So we need to listen, and in order to listen, we need to be able to look at the person. And I don't know if you know this or not, but when somebody says something and I don't even look up, if nothing else, it's incredibly discourteous.
I was just going to say it's almost feels disrespectful.
It is. So the whole dignity of listening is by looking at the individual, number 1. Number 2, when somebody is talking, one of the catches is to wait until they've finished. We know that. We've heard that 100 times. And there are 2 techniques that go with that. One of them is to repeat the word that the person just said, the last thing they said. So, and I'm now actually, here's a good example. I'm now staggering to remember exactly your last word. I said discourtesy, and you said, what did you say? That it was?
Like almost a form of disrespect.
Disrespect. And therefore, the best answer I can give to that listening process to say, when you mention disrespect, and then I can go on to another point of view. But the answer is, when you hear me repeat what you've just said, it is in fact very reassuring. In fact, often you'll find when somebody does repeat that last word, you look up and go, wow, they were listening. It's almost a surprise. But here's another technique, and that is, when you get to an intersection and you're driving your car, what do you drive, a Maserati or a Rolls Royce? I can't remember.
A Bentley. My last name's Benton.
Oh, Bentley, of course. How suitable. But anyway, no, seriously, when you're driving, you come to an intersection and you stop. That's part 1. Stopping to listen is part of that puzzle. But here's another thought. One of the best pieces of advice I was given when you get to an intersection or you're changing lane, anything like that, you stop, you do everything correctly. And once you've done that, then you count to three, literally. Count to three, 1, 2, 3. And the reason is that something can come out of a blind spot in those 3 seconds or less. We've all had that experience. Where did that car come from? Counting to three is a wonderful way of, softening the possibility. So
Right.
count to three. That's a great technique when you're listening. So
I
when
like that.
somebody says something, they say, we think we should be reimagining the coffee cups. I can say cups, but before I say cups, I can count to three. And it's remarkable how that we find out that the person hasn't finished talking. And we also find out an idea comes to us just like that car that came from nowhere. We come up with ideas that come from nowhere.
Right.
Or we hear an idea that came from nowhere. The 1, 2, 3 formula is very effective. Lastly, the whole business of listening is ultimately behavioral. I mean, what we've talked about are cognitive dynamic skills to listen. But the best way of listening is to be behavioral. And one of the things to do every morning, reflectively, is to listen. And you do 3 listenings. It takes 2 minutes.
Okay.
You listen, sit, and just listen. You hear the fridge humming. You hear a light buzzing. You hear a dog scratching. Whatever.
You're listening for what your surroundings are.
Exactly. There is the surroundings of the body are being listened to. Number one. It might even be, you might even hear your own creaks in your own body. Maybe a snapping knee or something charming. But the point is, listening, number one, to your body. Then listening to your mind is fascinating because when you listen to your mind, the only way you can do that is through the process of memories. And that is a fascinating way to listen to the memories of what was said to you yesterday. Who said what where? It might have been at the grocery store. It might have been a family member. It might be at a place of work. But you start thinking about the things that were actually said to you yesterday. And here's the wonderful thing. You take control of what you hear in the sense that if something was said that was nasty and you don't like it, you can dismiss it and go on to something you did enjoy hearing.
Right.
So it's not only you sort of respecting the memories and the comments that have been made, but you're also taking control to make sure you're not being unduly put down. And the third thing we listen to is our souls, our inner beings, and asking ourselves, what is my soul hearing? And there's only one person who can answer that, and that's the individual.
Right.
But it's worth doing. It's an exercise. If your source of faith, for example, is nature, what are you hearing nature saying to you this morning?
Right.
But it's a lovely way for the whole body to be engaged in, the whole being to be engaged in the process of listening. And I think listening is one of the master strokes for dignity. If I'm listening,
I like what you said as well in terms of you're deciding. Like what you're hearing, if that makes sense. So if there's something that you do not like that you're hearing or doesn't resonate with you or or is not in alignment with you or doesn't empower you, right? If it is having the opposite effect, it's understanding that you have the choice as to what you're listening to or what you're allowing in, right?
Yeah. I think we should all get into the business of listening.
Agreed.
And I'll say, I agree. And in fact, I agree so much that I rest my case.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Sarah.